If Bitcoin loses this key line, Ethereum loses this defense zone, and Binance's defense zone doesn't hold, buckle up because the drop could be brutal. On the screen, we are looking at Bitcoin's chart in the 1-hour time frame. What we can see here is that after this bearish impulse, channel, and range, we've experienced a bearish climatic action. As we know, bearish climatic actions usually correct in 2 legs. Now, let's look in more detail at why we have this directional movement and also search for buying points. But let's put Bitcoin aside for a moment, as we'll come back to it in more detail a bit later. But before that, let's take a look at Ethereum's chart. Here we have the 1-hour time frame on the screen, and we can see how in this time frame there is also a bearish impulse, channel, range, and the climatic action that follows. On the other hand, zooming in a bit, let's now switch to a 15-minute time frame. We are evaluating this entire process as an upward accumulation process. Here we've drawn its creek, and this process really catches our attention. First, we have a phenomenal volume here that comes with a plunging candle that fails to continue downward. Instead, it immediately turns around. Because of this, we can consider it our stopping volume. Then we see this high, steady volume with a very sharp plunge that meets the same fate as the stopping volume one just showed you. It doesn't continue the downward movement, but also turns upward. What does this mean? We are considering absorption. So what we have here is smart money absorbing sales. And finally, but no less important, this price increase that manages to continue upward also comes with volume. Therefore, we are already seeing active buying here as the action is accompanied by results. On the other hand, we have a defense zone here that continues to hold. Notice how this defense zone is nothing more than the trend line of a Z. Here we have the bearish impulse and the complex corrective pattern, where we had the W, the Y, and yes, we are now seeing the Z. So as we know, we'll continue following the Z upward until this structure is broken. But yes, we'll allow for some traps below the defense zone. Therefore, we might see the price drop below the defense zone, which we would consider a good buying opportunity, and later, if confirmed, we'll go after the upward movement. In fact, notice how right at this moment the price is dropping below the defense zone. So the trap we've been talking about could be forming right now. Let's now analyze Binance, BNB. But first,
welcome to Crypto Insight, your ethical and moral channel for cryptocurrency technical analysis. Here, we really know what we're talking about. We conduct advanced technical analysis that has been developed for over 12 years. We upload videos several times a week. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let me know and leave a comment with your opinion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss the next opportunity.
let's go back to the BNB chart in a 1-hour time frame and notice how we also have here a bearish impulse, a channel, a range, and a climatic action. The climatic action, just like in the other assets, will likely be followed by a second upward move. We'll be waiting for that bullish replica. But let's take it step by step. Let's zoom in a little, switching to the 15-minute time frame, where we can see that there's been an accumulation process. And just like I mentioned before with Ethereum, notice how this sharp drop was accompanied by a large volume. So here we have our stopping volume. Then this second sharp drop with high and steady volume also didn't succeed in continuing downward, but bounced back in a very abrupt manner, showing us that absorption is taking place. Therefore, smart money is buying up the sales here as well. As we can see, this accumulation process first created the classic compression against the creek, and then it broke out with significant strength. It then revisited the origin of the breakout, a movement that is quite common and that if you watch our videos regularly, you're likely already aware of how often this happens. But more things are happening here. Look at this, we've got a strong upward movement, its recovery, and of course we're expecting the bullish replica. Now, we consider this structure, which I'm marking in yellow, to be a key defense zone. Why do I say this? Generally, after a visit to the origin of the breakout, the price tends to react upwards, but of course it can include some kind of trap, so we'll allow it to give us that small trap. That small trap, being an extreme of the market, is what we consider a sweet spot for entry due to the strong gains we'd expect to see with the upward move. Always remember, and I'll repeat it again, a tight stop loss. Before we analyze Bitcoin, here's a clip from the previous video where we were analyzing Solana, and take a look at what we said about this point and that point.
Nothing. Solana is very clear, huh? We need to look for it here. Solana at $136. Also a trap scenario, of course. Let's see if it goes up that much. Hopefully it rises. Selling zone. Selling zone. And there we go short.
And if you want more opportunities like this, we're excited to let you know that our Crypto Insight Premium channel is now open to the public. Here we analyze the market in detail daily, looking for key zones we consider ideal for buying and selling. Access is now open and the access form is in the pinned comment of this video. Signing up is very easy. You just need to be a BitUnix or by DeFi user with our referral code. Also, you need to make a deposit of $100 in cryptocurrencies on BitUnix or by DeFi and use this account as your main trading account. In other words, start trading. BitUnix has a special promotion for us until September 30th. By depositing $100 and trading futures, you get $20 as a bonus for future trades, and by reaching a monthly volume of $1 million, you get 0.5 Solana. Remember that both BitUnix and ByDeFi do not require KYC or VPN, so you can connect from anywhere in the world. Once you meet these requirements, you can fill out the form with 5 simple questions, and within 72 hours, we will grant you access to our private Telegram channel. Don't miss this opportunity to access our channel with daily analyses. Sign up now, we're waiting for you. And now let's continue analyzing Bitcoin. We're first looking at the 1-hour chart to see, at a more macro level, what we're observing. Here we have the impulse, channel range, and climatic action, a bearish climatic action, which, as you might imagine, was followed by an impulse for which we are now expecting a bullish replica. But let's go step by step to fully understand each of the points that lead us to this bullish outlook on Bitcoin and the entire crypto system in general. Continuing with the 1-hour chart, but zooming in a bit, we can see a creek here. This creek belongs to this process that we are evaluating as an upward accumulation process. Therefore, we'll be expecting a breakout above the creek at some point, just like with the other assets I showed you earlier. We can also see here a strong drop with a lot of volume, a drop that could not continue. Here we also see high and steady volume with several candles forming a sharp drop that also failed to continue. Thus, the action does not correspond to the reaction. Instead, the price turned around sharply to the upside. Therefore, we're evaluating that there is absorption here. And we can already understand that with this high volume, relative to the previous candles, we see that the price was able to react upward. Here we are evaluating active buying. Let's remember that we are on the 1-hour chart. Now, let's switch to the 15-minute time frame where we can see a more micro accumulation process that has also broken to the downside. What we are evaluating here is the formation of a flat pattern. But at the same time, what do we have here? A continued bullish impulse followed by a corrective pattern where we are now seeing a micro bearish Z wave. This micro bearish Z wave hasn't broken its upward trend line, so it remains valid. What does all of this tell us? Well, we are going to keep an eye on the development of this flat pattern. And of course, we'll be looking for a trap. As some of you already know, we consider traps within flat patterns as sweet spots for entry. In this case, for a long entry. Since after a trap, we'll be expecting the price to react upwards. And since this flat pattern is still in formation, we're going to follow its development and see if it creates a trap. It would be interesting if this trap forms below the most recent closest low, so we can look for that upward movement we've been talking about. Now, I'm going to zoom out a little to clarify something. No one can predict prices or the future behavior of the price. Instead, we rely on structures. So what key points do we consider when looking at this Bitcoin chart? As I mentioned earlier, we'll continue to monitor the flat pattern. We'll be waiting for a trap to look for that upward movement. But we'll also be watching this point here. This line is something we consider very important. Notice how these wicks come down to test a level. What do I mean by this? If we see that this zone isn't respected, we'll be evaluating that this same accumulation process we've been discussing might not yet be ready for takeoff and could take a little more time. On the screen, I'm leaving you the link to our latest video where we show a session of crypto insight from our daily live streams so you can see in more detail the information we cover and how everything develops. Click on the video and then join us for our live sessions. Good luck with your trades and see you next time.